Yes, guys, welcome back to Flat Cap Hero Talk. And again, we are going to be doing another scout report and trying to fix this left side center back problem of the back three in Antonio Conte's side. We will be discussing with David, someone that David I know definitely highly rates, the Mr. Sven Botman. Sven Botman, let's get a bit of background first. He's from Bod. I'm going to try my best here. Bod, Hovedorp, Netherlands. Definitely, I think it's like a small principality or kind of town. I think actually close to Amsterdam, if I'm not mistaken. 21 years of age, still quite young, very, very young in comparison to maybe some other center backs that maybe we might look at, in the transfer market. Stands at 6 feet 4 inches. We are looking at very, very tall left-footed center backs, which is basically all that you need and all that you want. He plays for Lille at the moment. Definitely has, been touted to have left, last summer, didn't make the move. And so maybe this January transfer window he might leave. Considering also that Lille, I will say, are not doing very well in the league. I'm pretty sure they're going to get knocked out of the Champions League as well. So you think about that, maybe, you probably could just fork over 30 million or, 35 million, what they originally wanted. And they probably might take it, considering that he definitely will be leaving after this season because they are not doing too well this season, Lille. He's left footed, as we said before. His market value is around 25.2 million pounds. So that's why maybe in comparison to someone like a Pau Torres or an Alessandro Bastoni, where you really would have to fork over the big, big, big bucks for those guys, where this guy, maybe you could get a different version of that kind of player, but to a degree, all the same attributes, but is around, instead closer to maybe a Levy kind of budget when you think about it. He's an Ajax man from his youth career, but made a very early move in his senior career to other Dutch clubs. I guess, Ajax kind of, I don't know if they gave up on him. They just probably just decided to look elsewhere and he never got a shot. So he went to Herenveen and then he went eventually over to Lille and has just signed a big new contract over there, which does mean that they probably will ask for, at least somewhat of a bigger fee. His stats from Ligue 1 last season, his progressive passes around 4.71 per 90, which is very highly impressive, especially for a center back. In the 94th percentile there as well. Passes into the final third is very impressive. He has more passes into the final third than he does in progressive passes, which is very interesting. 4.76 per 90, 89th percentile there compared to all center backs, by the way, in Liga. His aerials one. This guy is an absolute menace in the air, I will say. 3.32 aerials 1 per 90 in the 90th percentile there. His ball recoveries are very, very impressive as well, with over 10 per match. An 89th percentile ball recovery is basically something like a Pierre Mohojbjerg really, strives in, basically whenever there's a loose ball around the pitch, he's the guy that's, mopping it up. He's the guy that picks it up, who kind of reads the game, you might say. It's almost like an excellent indicator of reading the game. Fouls committed, which is actually interesting, similar to maybe Pau Torres as well. Does not commit too many per match, actually. 0.44 in the 98th percentile of Ligue 1. And you might say also as well, probably a league where people probably go down very, very easily as well when you think about it in Ligue 1. This guy, commits very few fouls. So I think that is maybe a good sign of someone who's very composed when defending. And he also received very few yellow cards also last season as well, with 0.05 per 90 and the 93rd percentile. I actually really like that stat, that he hasn't committed too many yellow cards, again, in a league where you probably would get, a few unjustified, yellow cards when I think about it, considering the Neymars of the world and whatnot that are in that league. His aerial duels, I think, is a fantastic attribute of his. His using his strength and length. And I know David's seen a lot of this guy, so I will get his thoughts on his attributes here. But what I do mean by that is he seems to know his body very well. He seems to know that he's a very tall defender, a very long defender, and a very strong defender. So he uses that to his advantage. It seems like at such a young age, he knows that he's a very strong and powerful player. To a degree, you might even say, how Haaland, is very tall and strong, and he seems to already have picked that up in his body as a young player. Sometimes it's hard, especially at that sort of age, to know, your strength, to know that you are, have that to your advantage and whatnot. He seems to, if in my belief, his ability to switch play, I think, is honestly one of the best I've seen actually from Europe last season. He really loves that ping ball across to either the other fullback, that's pushing very high, or to even another winger on the other side, to the right wing that's pushed very high. His long ball over the top, I think, is also very underrated. He really knows how to be able to dink it over the top instead of just pinging it long, across the field. He can also dink it over the top. He's very good at shielding the ball. Maybe that's why he doesn't commit too many fouls, because he actually just shields the ball when the player makes a mistake. He doesn't even make a tackle, basically. He just kind of shields it away from them and then kind of just takes it right by them after. And then he doesn't dive in, which is also maybe one of my favorite things about it. You don't see him need to go to ground very much, which I think is also quite impressive. But David, any of these attributes that either I'm missing or maybe something that stands out to you?
Look, he's just an all-round defender, Jack. Look, first of all, I love Dutch players. I have a soft spot for Dutch players. But are you surprised with his switching of play, his passing ability, and stuff like that? He comes from the best, and for me, the most successful academy in world football, the Ajax Academy. You come through that system, you know you're either going into the Ajax team or you're going abroad. You know you're going to have a professional career. Look, I've always said this, my old lads always said it as well, that if you're going to Holland to buy players, especially over the last 10, 15 years, you go to one team and one team only, and it's Ajax, because you know the quality of players they produce. This guy, Jack, look at his yellow cards. Barely existent, the yellow cards this guy gets. Which shows he's not rash. He times his tackles and he can read the game. Combined with his ball recoveries. Now, with them ball recoveries, you're probably expecting a few more cards. It goes to show he doesn't really mistime his tackles whatsoever. Combined with the passing and the aerial ability, this guy's an all-round defender. I really, really like this kid. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him.
I think a lot of people probably have. I think we all kind of said, oh, get Sven Botman last season, get him. But it felt like we didn't really speak about, what he really did specifically well, to get into this side. We didn't ever really seem to be very specific as fans about why we really wanted him. And so hopefully this video can maybe explain why. So, might as well then break down some of the highlights here from the guy. Again, someone that I do feel like his ball playing ability is very underrated by lots. I really do enjoy watching this guy play, especially in that regard. But we are going to see him get stuck in also plenty. I would say, I think he would make a smoother transition to the Premier League than actually some other players, like maybe a Pau Torres. I think Pau Torres I really want very, bad. I would love to have him. But this guy would actually make a fantastic transition to the Premier League, almost instantaneous, if you ask me. And as well, look at the strength that he's showing here, Dave, especially for a 21-year-old.
He's Premier League ready. Yeah. He has all the attributes. Look, this is a guy I've followed over the last season. I think he's absolutely brilliant. He's such a powerhouse. He's a tank. The size of him, he has all the attributes. And he's a bit quicker than what people give him credit for as well. He's deceivingly quick.
And also maybe
cover the ground quicker.
Well said, Dave. Well said. And what do you mean? When I kind of said, like, he knows, like, look at this right here, like his shielding of the ball, Dave. Like, he knows he's a powerful defender. And when, Dave, you're 21 years old, some players don't really, like I said, they don't know their body that well yet. They don't know that they have that in their attribute, or they don't know that they're capable of being that powerful. And I feel like he does know, and he does, actually show that as a player. And then you see the class here as well. And also his passing range is very impressive. And he was one of the best passers of the ball last season in all of Europe's top 5 leagues as well. So I will say this guy really is class, but his switch of play, I think, is the best one. He is able of pinging it over the top, but he can switch play in a very effective way. And so I really like that about him. And also, like David said earlier, doesn't need to, really foul a guy in order to win the ball off of him. Just uses his strength, uses his length, and he just pokes it away from him.
What I see from a lot of this guy, Jack, he'll always he'll show enough space for a player to think they can take him on. And the minute they go for it, he knows he has the strength and the pace and the power to be able to take it off them. A bit like just what he's done there. He'll show them down, you can take me on, and then he just takes the ball off them. He's absolutely brilliant, this guy. I can't. Imagine this guy playing beside Romero. Imagine it, Jack. No striker would want to come up against him because they know they're going to be kicked. They're not going to win anything in the air. They know they're not going to get any change out of them pressing him because, he's just so cool on the ball. Like, look at that. For a centre-back to have that vision, it's unbelievable. Where did Toby Alderweireld come from with his vision? The Ajax Academy. This guy's just a direct replacement, and he's an absolute unit. He is brilliant, this guy. Defensively, he's so good, I think. I really like him. Like I said, he's a throwback, Jack. He's old school. He reads the game so well. He doesn't make any rash challenges. Like there, how many times have we seen players, especially in the Premier League, defenders pulling down the striker there, giving away a free kick?
Yeah.
He doesn't need to. He backs himself. He's confident. He's assured in what he does. And he does the basics of defending very, very well. And once you do that, it gives you a platform. I just think he's brilliant.
I think... I don't know. This just kind of sounds crazy because I feel like, what we've seen before with maybe the Bastonis and the Pau Torreses of the world, I feel like those guys are going to become maybe the best defenders in the world. But in Sven Botman's case, which is very interesting, I feel like he's actually weirdly more Premier League ready than those two. I think he seems to have actually all the attributes of a Premier League defender, and he'll only get better. Maybe he might not have as high of a ceiling as those guys. At the same time, like, I feel like he has all the markings of a fantastic Premier League defender. So that's why if I were to maybe consider the price differential as well, Dave, let's say you're saving. I know, we're not supposed to be thinking that way, but maybe it's just the Levy trauma that's in my head right now. But if you're saving 30 to 40 million, I think you go for Sven Botman instead. Maybe a controversial shout there, but I think you go for Sven Botman instead.
It's not
Especially.
controversial. It's not, Jack. This guy is ready for the Premier League. Look, you just look at certain players in the world. You look at a Haaland, walk into Premier League, he'll bang goals. You look at Vlahovic, he has all the attributes to play in the Premier League. And you look at this guy, he has all the attributes to play in the Premier League. He's fit, he's fast, he reads the game, he's clever, he has the passing ability if he's being pressed. He can also take on defenders, and he loves defending. He is Premier League ready. I agree with you. I think he's more Premier League ready than Pau Torres. Look, Pau Torres, I think he's a great defender. You know what I mean? And I actually think, if he came to the Premier League, he'd do just fine as well. But with Sven Botman, I think he's ready, Jack. I really do.
Yeah, I really agree with that, Dave. And that's what I think is kind of funny. Maybe it sounds a bit ironic to say that maybe, his ceiling might not be as high as those guys that we've also reviewed before. But to maybe make the argument that, if you were to pick someone that you feel like would just from the get-go, from the starter's pistol, be ready to, make a transition in the Premier League, I think it's Sven Botman actually more than the others. I really do. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it just is the strength. Maybe it is that, willingness and wantingness to get stuck in. Maybe it is also that, just the fact that he seems to have a bit of everything. He excels certainly in certain regards, but he just is good at almost everything, I would say, compared to maybe the likes of Pau Torres and whatnot, who excels in certain regards in a lot of things, like if not the best in the world in certain regards. Whereas Sven Botman, maybe what's interesting about him, kind of has a bit of it all. He has aerial duels, long passing ability, vision, strength, length, as well as also, his ability to just get stuck in and want to get stuck in. So pretty much all the markings of a fantastic defender.
And this is the difference. But do you know what the difference between this guy and Pau Torres is? Pau Torres is more of a guy. He reads the danger. He kind of falls back into a position and he's there to clear it, or he's there to stop the danger. This guy, he's proactive. He's out there stopping the danger before it even gets into the box. And I would say that's probably the best way I could describe the difference between him and Pau Torres. In terms of Premier League, look, why I believe he's ready for the Premier League, I think his biggest asset is his power. He's powerful. Look, in the Premier League, no matter what size the player, you look at them, they all have power. They all have power, whether it's in the legs or whatever. In other leagues, you probably get away with not really having that power because you kind of maybe have a bit more time on the ball and whatever else. But the power is what will make this guy more Premier League ready than maybe a Pau Torres.
No, I mean, I've also seen actually, I think one of the players that he actually, even in one of these compilations, I'm not sure if it was this video because I've seen a lot of highlights of him in the past, Dave. That one player that we played against on Rennes, that Gomis guy, their number 9 for Rennes, very, very tall, powerful striker who's giving all of our center backs, Eric Dyer and everybody, and Joe Rodon, lots of trouble. No one could take him down. He was bullying our defenders. I've seen Sven Botman in a compilation reel take down that guy multiple times and put him on the floor. So I think that's also maybe something about Sven Botman. I don't think he would back down anybody. Probably you might say this might be a bit crazy as well, a bit of a controversial opinion, but he'd almost would be like a Nemanja Vidic, David. Like a from back in the day, like a Vidic with a passing ability. Because Vidic was somebody that just never backed down to anybody. Would just want to get stuck in, want to show somebody that he is the boss. And to a degree, I kind of see that in Sven Botman, if you ask me.
Do you know who I see in Sven Botman? I think he probably maybe is a bit similar to Jan Vertonghen.
Because Jan was maybe more powerful than we give him credit for. You're right.
Yeah. I just think he's a bit like Jan, just the way, even if it's at the byline, he'll go in and put in the challenge. He will go and have that aerial duel. A bit like Jan with the passing ability of Toby Alderweireld. Look, I'd probably go as far as saying you're probably getting Toby and Jan into one player.
That's and because nowadays, Dave, you need your center backs to be press resistant. You need them to be able to ping a pass, and we knew that Jan could do that. We certainly did. Jan was probably a bit ahead of his time when you think about it in that regard. But we know that with Sven Botman, he has the passing ability, he has the aerial ability, and he has the strength and the power. I mean, look at him just
That's
manhandling
Jan
this guy
Vertonghen.
right
I've seen Jan Vertonghen do that loads of times.
here. And as well, even when players are elbowing him in the face, David, he's still winning these headers as well, by the looks of it. I mean, he's seriously just, honestly, he is actually brilliant to watch, Sven Botman, I will say. And also, maybe the reason why you should also go after him, I think this January window is a bit more realistic, I think, to acquire in the January window, because Lille are not doing so great this season. They're actually almost sitting, David, like lower mid-table at the moment in Ligue 1. They're really not doing well. You probably give them maybe 35, 40 million probably. I think they take it. I think they take it. They almost are. They have to take it when you think about it, because he is going to be leaving, I think, this upcoming this upcoming summer. So, like always, maybe we can be a bit proactive and get him in right away. You probably would be saving around 40 million as well if you were to instead go for Bastoni or Pau Torres. You definitely have to pay the big bucks for those guys. Maybe you save a lot when it comes to Sven Botman. I'm actually, if I really had to pick between the three, especially if I'm considering the price, I'm going for Sven Botman, Dave.
Look, for me, Sven Botman would be my choice as well. I just think, look, he may be 21, but he's Premier League ready. For me, I think he's Premier League ready. Look, the reason why he's playing with a club that aren't doing so well right now, they did sell some of their best players.
Yep.
Once they won the league, Eduardo Camavinga, they sold him and stuff like that.
Yeah, but but not Camavinga, but yeah.
Oh, who was it?
They sold a bunch of their players. They also just went through a really bad spell of, I think, financial trouble and whatnot, Dave. But
Camavinga. Is he not with Rennes? Oh, my bad.
no, I think it doesn't matter. But I think certainly, it's just a team that really is struggling at the moment. It is a team that really is, basically at the depths of despair when you consider what they were last season. And so maybe you just fork over 40 million for them, take off one of their center backs. Also, maybe you also finally, a lot of people said Jose Font, someone who's played alongside a lot of great center backs in his time, said that this guy's the best defender he's ever played alongside. Couldn't be higher praise from somebody like that. Couldn't be higher praise. But that'll be all for now. Let us know in the comments if you had to pick between Bastoni, Pau Torres, and Sven Botman. Which one would you be going for? Which one would you want us to spend the money on? For me, considering the price, I'm going Sven Botman. But that'll be all for now. Please like, please subscribe, hit that notification bell to never miss another video like this one. David and I will be seeing you